Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, welcome to our first ever book review episode. We're discussing Twilight. So if you listen to our introductory episode, which we released 2 weeks ago, we mentioned in there that the first book that we would be reviewing was going to be Twilight.
Yeah.
Not anything going viral currently or might get us noticed on the podcast searching. We're doing Twilight.
Yeah.
And I think it was because it felt appropriate to learn a little bit more about us, but also it's just a key part of, I think, any reader's history as well.
It's like a backstory. It's our side quest.
Side quest?
Side quest? No, what's the start quest?
It was like a character development.
Yeah, there we go.
In how we essentially got into paranormal romance.
I thought you were going to say paramour. I was like, yeah, definitely decode.
So this episode we're going to be talking about Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. So the book came out 16 years ago. We were in high school at the time, so this is making us feel a lot of emotions and nostalgia.
And old.
Do we want to do a summary on what Twilight is? I suppose if you haven't read Twilight by now, that's kind of on you, and if you're considering reading Twilight, maybe just skip it. Stop. I think it depends on your age. I think it also depends on where you're at as a reader with how you're going to enjoy the book. Because I read Twilight when it first came out in 2000 and... I read Twilight... We've already mentioned this. It came out in 2006. I first read it in 2008, right before the movies were released. Yeah. When did you read it?
At the start of that same year, so before the movie was released. I know that it was like in talks that it was going to come out, but it was like the start of the year, because I remember the start of the school year. Because it just took over my life.
2008. Became Christy's entire personality.
Literally.
I didn't know her back then, but I have seen photos from that era, and
there's some stories.
Yes.
I got all my friends to call me Bella.
Ooh.
And I wore my hair like her, like, you know, with the headband, like, you know.
Wow, you had it bad. And you had it really bad.
Like, sorry, I'm saving myself for Jacob.
Team Jacob.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was Edward for like a little, and then I was just like, wait, why?
Look,
why?
I will agree to this. Book 1, Team Edward. Book 2, Team Jacob.
Yeah.
Book 3, on the fence.
Yeah.
On the fence.
Why not both? That's what I want to know.
Yes. If Stephanie and I ever rewrote any of these books and it was a Twilight told from a different perspective or a different...
Why choose?
Yes. I would 100% read a Why Choose, Reverse Harem, Twilight.
Yes.
Easy.
The more the merrier, honest. Carlisle's not his real dad, come on.
I'm just here for Charlie's story.
Yeah.
Skip Bella entirely.
I want to know what he was like in his prime.
Okay.
Off track. Sorry.
Christy, since this was your entire personality back in high school, can you summarize Twilight for us?
She moves to a town called Forks.
With a cactus?
Yeah, with a cactus.
I think that was
Don't
just
know
in the
how
movie.
it's going to survive.
Was that just in the movie?
I think that was just in the movie, actually. No, it was. It was in the book. But I think it was like a succulent.
Okay.
I remember it was like her mum's present. Like, here you go. You're going to live in Rainy Forks with your dad. Why, though? But, yeah, it goes there. Starts in high school. Everyone's weird and obsessed with the Cullens. She sees them. She's like, what the fuck? And then she sees Edward and she's like less emotion. Like, I can't even do it. My face is too emotionative.
Yeah.
And he's weird. She thinks he's strange. What's going on with his vibe? Why does he can't stand the smell of her?
Attracted to the mystery.
His eyes change color. She's losing the plot. Bam, he's a vampire. Who saw that coming? Not Bella.
Who knew? It's just on the back of the
But
book.
everybody else that was probably reading the book and watching the movie. And things just happen. He sparkles. I can quote a lot of the lines from the movie, if you would like.
Okay. How about this? Don't whisper it. It's just creepy. You're just vibing Edward standing in the corner watching Bella sleep vibes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why didn't we think that was weird back then?
Teenagers.
Yeah,
We
okay.
were teenagers.
Mm.
How many times have you reread Twilight?
When it first came out and I first read that book, I just only read that book. So within a year, I probably read that 15 times.
Yep.
And I've read it since. I will reminisce and reread. Reminisce a couple of years later, reread. But I haven't read it recently. Unlike you.
Yeah, when we discussed that we were going to do a podcast and jokingly said that Twilight was going to be our first episode, I went and I reread the books.
Yeah.
Well, not the books. I've reread just the first book so far. I kind of plan on reading the rest of them if we plan on doing future episodes on the other books. But I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do an episode on Twilight, I want to reread it, refresh my memory. I've wanted to reread it for a few years now, but I just never have. I kind of end up going towards the movies instead and just comfort watching the movies. Yes, definitely. So I reread the book a few weeks ago, and it was definitely a different experience rereading it as an adult compared to when I first read it as a teenager. Yeah. I originally rated this book 5 stars. I had to go searching through my Goodreads to see what I gave it all those years ago. I rated it 5 stars. If I had never read that book and I was going into it with like fresh eyes now, it probably wouldn't get more than 3 stars from me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It was written for teenagers.
I purposely haven't changed my rating though on Goodreads, because I'm like, well, this is what I first gave it when I first read it and experienced the book for the first time. This is how it made me feel. Yeah. So I've left it as a 5-star rating, which on my Goodreads, which does still make me cringe a little bit, but that's who I was. That's what I enjoyed all those years ago.
And it was a good book when we were young. Like, it's still like, that's what got me into reading. Like, you know, one of the first books that I was like, oh, I need to read. I can't do anything else. I can't do my homework. I can't sleep. I need to read this book. I don't care about anything else. I'm reading this book.
Yeah.
Like, that was the first.
The obsession.
Yeah.
It was the obsession.
Yeah.
So I think we discussed in our introductory Who We Are episode, we were talking about like the books that got us into reading. And yeah, I think after I'd read The Hunger Games and obsessed over The Hunger Games, Twilight started taking over at my school. And at first I was like, no, I don't want to read that. Everybody's reading that. I'm too cool to read what everybody else is doing. Like, I'm different. And then I read it and I really wasn't any different.
No. Every white girl ever.
I read it and then I reread it before I read New Moon. And then I reread it before I read Eclipse. And then I reread it before Breaking Dawn. And I actually, I checked my copy of Twilight just before we hit record on this. And I've got the special edition that was printed for the first time in 2008. And it lists all of Stephanie Meyer's other books, and it has not got listed Breaking Dawn. Yeah. And that just, I don't know how that makes me feel age-wise. I actually, since I reread the book, I wrote down a few thoughts that I had rereading it. One of the first things I wrote down was, age gap is still weird.
It's so fucking weird.
I don't know how I didn't cringe at that when I first read it. Maybe it was the fact that he was an older guy.
Yeah, see, that was the thing back then. Like in high school.
You're a high schooler.
Senior, like,
Oh, the popular, weird, moody mystery boy is interested in me. Yeah. That's what I think it was.
Yeah,
Not that I can really summarize that any nicer. But yeah, I wrote, age gap is still weird. And then I said, he might be 17, but he's been 17 forever.
Like Zac Efron in that movie. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So some thoughts that I had about this whole age gap thing was, he might still be 17, but he's been 17 for what, like 100 and something years. Yeah. So his maturity is not that of a 17-year-old anymore. Yeah. Isn't that a little bit weird to think? Because I
got sick of her.
Well, see, what I was thinking was, did his maturity stop when he got turned at 17 and he stuck with a 17-year-old mindset for like the rest of his vampire life? Or because of the world that he lives in and everything he's being exposed to, has being a vampire mentally matured him? Yeah, deep thoughts, right? I think I broke her. What? No, this is something I thought when I was reading it, because I think his maturity continued to develop past when he got turned as a vampire. Like, they might stop physically aging, but mentally they still have a brain to compute things.
Yeah, the brain keep going.
Well, he's got it constantly learning things and memorizing things, and they've been through high school so many times.
Yeah. Oh, imagine learning algebra that many times.
No, it's a big no for me. If I was going to be a vampire, I would not put myself through school. I would just steer clear of everyone, stuff socializing.
Just be like a recluse, like live in the forest.
It's doable. You don't have to go to school to blend in.
They could have just ate animals. That's what they were
They
already
could be
doing.
homeschooled, whatever.
Like, eat the fluffy bunnies and just live your best life.
Why did you have to say bunnies? It's so cruel. Because, okay, so the thing why I got stuck on the age gap was also a few times during the book, he refers to her classmates as children. Yeah. And he refers to her as a little girl at one stage. Right? And that just made me cringe. It made me feel a little bit icky inside.
Does it mean he's a pedophile?
Oh, she's so young compared to him.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just kind of made me perceive Eddie Boy a little bit differently compared to how I used to look at it.
Put him in jail.
Straight in the bin.
Straight to jail.
Stephanie Meyer also mentions drug use multiple times, and I know it's that super common line where it's like your blood is like my personal brand of heroin.
You're like a drug to me.
Yes,
you're like my personal brand of heroin.
But I just thought for a book that was targeted towards teenagers. Yeah, right.
Like, let's all do meth.
Like, she mentions drug use and as a comparison for like their need to one another, and I'm like, how did I enjoy this as a teenager when I've never done hard drugs like that?
Yeah, and you wouldn't know that addiction.
No, and it's being romanticized.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I came on here to talk how much
serious.
How much I liked Twilight, and I'm just picking apart all the things that are wrong with it.
That's fine. Someone needs to.
Okay, cool. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I also couldn't get past Bella's victim persona, which is super obvious if you watch the movies or you read the books or you just know about the love story of Bella and Edward. But it was just her headspace about blaming herself consistently throughout the book for other people's actions.
So toxic.
And they were actions completely out of her control as well. So there's this scene where it's Bella's first day at Forks High School, and she goes to the principal's office after, right? Yeah. And she's talking to Mrs. Cope, is the receptionist behind the desk, and Edward is the one that walks in after her, or no. Edward was at the desk. Bella walks in. They were both trying to like get out of science class. Yeah, biology. Yeah. That's the one.
Mitosis.
Onions. And Edward later explains that he almost lost his control and killed Miss Cope in that moment, and that's why I had to leave so quickly. And Bella's just like, oh, I can't believe, like, I almost caused Miss Cope's death. Like, her death would have been on me. I'm like, bitch, no! So that was something that I'm just like, oh, Bella, get over yourself.
There's
like
constant things in that.
Girl needs to go to therapy before she dated a vampire. So yeah, there were some of the things that I cringed at and couldn't really get past rereading Twilight now as like a mature adult. Yeah, the age gap, the consistent mention of drug use, and Bella's victim persona.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess compared to reading it the first time, I was in love with the story.
Oh god, yeah.
I could easily overlook all the problems about it because I was just obsessed with the story between Edward and Bella. But also, I guess I also wasn't exposed to a lot of other stories at the time.
Yeah,
I had nothing else to really compare it to when it came to good writing.
that's true.
And fictional stories and paranormal romance. And I know even after reading Twilight, I searched.
Yes.
Thank you. I searched for other books to try and give me that same kind of feeling I got from reading Twilight.
Quench that thirst.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vampire Academy did that.
I fucking loved Vampire
I
Academy.
read that book.
Vampire Academy, I read it a month, and then I was just hungover for so long after, left me in such a big slump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still love those books.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I were to reread them, though.
Okay, but what if we do reread them?
Definitely.
I'm down for a reread on
Let's do
Vampire
it.
Academy. Do we get past Twilight first and
Yeah.
then dive into Vampire Academy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll focus on one reread at a time, maybe. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to add to the problematic world that is Twilight?
Not reading it,
Mhm.
but watching the movies.
Yes.
So,
See, I haven't watched the movies in a little while, so it's not as fresh in my mind like it is in yours.
well, I did. So my partner had never watched Twilight, ever.
Okay.
Ever.
This I actually couldn't believe.
Like, ever. In his 27 years of existence, had never watched it, never read it, obviously, but he was just like, no, I'm a manly man. I ain't watching that girly shit. And I was like, hold up a second. Yeah, you are. This was my personality in high school. Like, you're going to watch this movie.
I respect you for doing
Like,
this so much.
I sat him down. We got drunk.
Okay, how long did it take you to convince him to watch the movie though?
Years. We've been together 4 years. It took years. We only watched it this year. And it was because I was bullying him as well as some of our friends that would come up for like drinking and gigs and stuff. And some of them were guys as well. And they were like, we've watched it. Like, why can't you? Like, just watch it. And so we did. We got drunk and we watched the first one. We watched Twilight. And just watching his reaction to someone who had never watched it, didn't really know anything about it. Like, watching his reaction to it, like, but, like, what? Like, just so many things. And he had so many questions. And
You
it
know,
was...
we should have got him in on this episode.
We should have. We should have. I should have just recorded all of our conversations watching the movies, because some of the things he was coming up with, and
Yeah.
even the friends rewatching, like
I was just going to say, what are some of the questions that he asked watching this movie?
Because we also watched all of them. We haven't watched Breaking Dawn Part 2 yet.
Mhm.
We're watching that soon.
Mm-hmm.
But Twilight... I know there was a lot of wolf questions, like theoretical, like dirty wolf questions, like how would that work? Like, if they were to have sex, would it be in human form or would it be in wolf form? Like, would he have a dog dick or like a human dick?
I take it these questions came up during New Moon.
Yeah. But what else was there? Well, even in just Twilight, it was just like, what if they had sex? Like, he's ice cold. Would his penis be ice cold? Like,
His ice pee-pee.
yeah, like, would it even get up? Because he doesn't have blood pumping through his body. He's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So many thoughts, so many questions that... See what I mean? See what I mean? Like,
the logistics of it, because I mean, when you do get to the sex scene, it just in Breaking Dawn,
Mhm.
it just fades to black, doesn't
Yeah.
it? It's just, I mean, it's a young adult.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not going to go into detail. Okay, when I get to my reread, I'm gonna take notes and maybe do some research on
we
this.
need to know. Please let us know.
Because Twilight has become a personality and a community for so many people.
Yes.
there's this Facebook group that I joined this year. Literally, I joined it on the 1st of January this year, and I was like, you know what, this is the best thing that I've ever done this year. Was join the Twilight shit posting group on Facebook, and it has so many laughs,
so much joy,
so many good memes have come out of it.
Been loco?
People getting like Twilight tattoos
and shitty Twilight tattoos.
Amazing.
I'm so about that. I'm still about getting tit soak like somewhere.
I think I shared with you recently, it was a TikTok that someone had drawn cute rat tattoos, and one of them was like a rat with like little fairy wings, and I'm like, 100% get that for my Twilight tattoo. Heck yeah. Which is a weird content to talk about, but if you're a part of this Twilight shitposting group, there's also a side group called the sewer or something like that. Sewer rats or something like that. Yeah, so this is where the whole rat and Twilight thing comes connected
it's
here.
Like sewer shit posting or something.
Yeah. If it's not good enough for Twilight shit posting, it gets sent down the sewer. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. But everybody in there is basically called ratties, and that's how like we refer to one another as like this Twilight community. Yeah, that was pretty bad. For anybody listening, Christy just replicated the sound of a mice. Hand actions and everything. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I'll get a rat tattoo. Little fairy wings. That's kind of cute. Tattoo. We've got problems, but yes. Yeah. Look, we're saving for tattoos, not therapy, and that's something we should discuss later. No. Okay, back to the book. There was something I picked up on in this book that I'd completely forgotten about, and it is that James, our villain for the story, which you did not mention in the plot summary at all,
because he sucks,
linked to Alice's backstory.
He is too, yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot about it. So it was kind of nice rereading this book and still having moments where I went,
I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing they leave things out of the movies. No, it's not. I want a 3-hour-long movie. I don't care.
I would watch it as a TV series.
Heck yeah.
If they redid... Are they planning on redoing Twilight? No. Maybe it was something else that I thought I saw recently they were redoing.
I'm pretty sure Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson won't work together anymore.
No, you're probably right on that fact.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking if they were going to redo it, they would do different actors. Stephanie Meyer would 100% still feature herself in it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's in the first movie.
Yeah, she's eating out of the diner.
Yes.
I fucking love that.
And I think she's at the wedding in the second last movie as well.
Yeah. I love when authors do that, where they just insert themselves in the movies. Like with the Grisha series.
I have not watched it yet.
Well, this isn't really a spoiler, but Lee Bardugo puts herself in the movie. Just like a little scene like that. Like she's just in the background and you know she's there. And it's like, I know who that is.
Because I mean, like good work. Like you created this world. It became a best-selling book. Now it's a movie. Hell yeah, you deserve to be a part of it too.
Hands down. We should also do reviews for those books.
I actually have been thinking about that because I started to reread the Grishaverse when the TV series first came out, and then I just stopped.
Yeah.
I just stopped like midway through one of the books. So it's actually still on my Goodreads as a book that I'm currently reading, and I refuse to mark it as DNF because I have read it once before.
Yeah.
So I have a what's the word that I'm looking for? I just have a need to finish the book and tell Goodreads, fuck you, I did finish it, even though it took me several years to finish it. So I want to read that series because I also want to read Six of Crows because I've never read Six of Crows, and I also want to read the other one that she's got, which follows, what's his name? Forgotten. It's like the captain dude that ends up being like a prince or something. Nikolai.
Oh, Nikolai.
Yeah, because there's a series that follows him. And I want to know more about this
King
world.
of Scars or something, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, King of Scars.
I haven't read that one either.
I've got it.
I've got it too on the bookshelf.
Yeah, I think I found it at Bookfest one time.
Hope so.
Yeah, so I want to reread those so I can watch the TV series and just have a better, I guess, comparison between the two.
Yeah.
So I haven't I haven't watched it yet because I haven't
Definitely.
reread it yet.
Definitely suggest, reading at least. I haven't finished the Six of Crows series. I think I didn't even think I read the first book, but that's it. I think I stopped, and then the movie came out, and because it's both worlds put together, I understand the gist of the Six of Crows part and their world, but I don't actually understand the whole backstory.
Yeah.
But they've managed to they've done well though. Like Liam's never read the books and he watched it and he understood what was going on. I had to explain a few things, but it's fucking excellent.
Yeah,
Really
I
good
think
TV
that's
series.
I think that's why I haven't watched the TV series yet, because I haven't read Six of Crows, and I just know that I'm going to enjoy the books better than I'm going to enjoy the TV shows. So I'm just like, I want to feel that high from the books before I watch the shows.
That's fair.
We'll get there. And I guess when we read them, we can do an episode on them, and maybe we can do an episode on like the show as well and how it compares to the book.
How Ben Barnes is the best person to make as the Darkling. He is daddy and I love him and brilliant.
You're gonna put him on an altar.
Literally.
There's a shrine at your house.
Like, I already love the Darkling character, but him as the Darkling, you couldn't have chosen a better person.
Okay. Great chat.
Yeah.
Twilight. I think, is there anything else that you want to say about Twilight? Maybe if you're in high school and never read it, it might be a good book for you to read. However, if you're an adult and you've already read, I guess, so many other paranormal romances, it might not hit in the same spot, considering it is a YA young adult book.
Yeah.
Even if you feel like rereading Twilight, I actually know quite a few people that have decided to reread Twilight this year as well. It's a great nostalgia hit. There was definitely a few scenes that I laughed. I remember like feeling similar emotions the first time I read it, but no matter what, I still felt cringe for a lot of it.
That's fair.
So if you don't have Twilight and you want Twilight, I had a look. It's not on Kindle Unlimited, which is kind of shitty.
Wow.
I know, that shocked me as well.
Okay, fair.
It's $11.99 to purchase on Kindle, which blew my mind, because you can find a paperback version for that same price at Big W currently. Yep, I googled this.
It's probably like $7 or something.
However, you can also support op shops.
Yeah, like Lifeline and Vinnie's.
So when Christy and I go to Bookfest, we consistently find copies of Twilight.
So many copies.
You can definitely get a copy for less than $5 at an op shop. You've just got to find it, and no matter what.
I had to replace all of my Twilight books. I got them for $1 each, and they're great condition. Like, they've obviously been read, but they're fine. I'm not going to buy a new one when I can just buy a secondhand and support something that's good.
And look, if you guys end up reading Twilight, again, I would love to hear your thoughts on it, whether that's message us on Instagram or even TikTok. We're there. I can't remember what our handle is off the top of my head. I know it's definitely something on her bookshelf, but there was like dots, full stops, or underscores somewhere. We'll put it in the show description.
Yeah,
find us.
It looks like
chat
this.
to us.
Just type in on her bookshelf and look for this picture.
Yeah, okay. For our podcast listeners, she's pointing to our logo.
This.
It's this beautiful like neon design that I created. So yeah, reach out to us. We'll happily chat to you and share your thoughts on Twilight as well.
Yes.
I'm not sure what book we're going to be talking about next.
Don't know.
Parking
It's a
around,
surprise.
maybe.
I'm not going to tell you.
Haunting Adeline. I don't know. Squeak.
We did mention that in the first episode, so we're going to have to do it
it's
eventually.
Coming up, so yeah.
You're just going to have to listen or watch to find out.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.